Laos, 1968. A country the United States is officially not fighting a war in. 6 men just dropped into triple canopy jungle. No backup, no ground force, no rescue on standby. Their mission was simple on paper. Insert, watch the trail, count the enemy, report back. What they found on that trail would change everything. 40,000 North Vietnamese soldiers moving south every single month. And then, the jungle stopped making noise. Someone had found them first. The Vietnam War has 2 maps. The first map shows South Vietnam, the battlefield, the fire bases, the cities, the places Americans see on the news every night in 1968. The second map shows Laos and Cambodia. This map is classified. It doesn't officially exist. And on this map, a highway system runs for thousands of kilometers through some of the most remote jungle on Earth. The Americans call it the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The North Vietnamese call it the Truong Son Strategic Supply Route. Whatever you call it, it is the spine of the entire war. Without the trail, the North Vietnamese army cannot fight in the south. Every weapon, every round of ammunition, every replacement soldier, every ton of rice that keeps the NVA in the field, all of it flows south through Laos and Cambodia, through jungle so thick that American bombers flying overhead cannot see through the canopy, through roads carved from the earth by thousands of workers who rebuild them faster than the bombs can destroy them. American commanders know the trail exists. They bomb it constantly. They defoliate it. They seed it with sensors. They hit it with everything they have. But they need eyes on the ground. They need to know exactly where the traffic moves, how many soldiers, what equipment, which route, how fast the enemy can replace his losses. So they create MACDSOG, Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies and Observations Group, the most classified special operations unit in the entire Vietnam War. SOG's mission is simple and nearly suicidal. Insert small team, 6 men, sometimes 4, deep into Laos and Cambodia. Watch the trail, count the enemy, gather intelligence, get out. If you are captured, the United States government will deny you were ever there. If you are killed, your family will be told you died in South Vietnam. You are operating in a country that does not officially exist as a war zone. You have no legal existence on the ground beneath your feet. You are a ghost. And in 1968, the ghosts of MACDSOG are about to find something that American intelligence has been trying to quantify for years. The team is called Recon Team Idaho. 6 men total. The team leader, a Special Forces Staff Sergeant with 2 previous SOG missions in Laos. He knows what the trail looks like. He knows what the silence means. He has been here before and come back. His assistant, a demolitions qualified corporal. If the mission changes, if the intelligence reveals a target too good to ignore, he has what they need to act on it. For indigenous Montagnard fighter, trained by Special Forces over years of operation. Some of the finest jungle soldiers in Southeast Asia. Men who have been fighting this war since before most Americans knew Vietnam existed. Their loadout is stripped to nothing unnecessary. No rank insignia, no unit patches, no dog tag. If they are captured, no identification. If they don't come back, no way to know which unit lost. Each man carries 18 loaded magazines for his CAR-15, a weapon chosen because it is short, light, and can be fired from inside dense vegetation without the barrel catching on branches. Suppressed when possible, loud enough to fight with, small enough to move with. 2 claymore mines per man, not for offense. For the moment, when everything goes wrong, and you need to break contact and run. For days of freeze-dried ration, water purification tablet, for bags for silent hydration in the dark. You can drink from an 4 bag without making the gulping sound that carries through jungle quiet. And 1N/PRC 25 radio, 23 pound, the most important piece of equipment on the mission, the connection to the world outside the jungle, the device that calls in artillery, directs air strikes, and, if everything goes wrong, calls for extraction. Without it, 6 men in Laos are just 6 men. The helicopter drops them at last light. 30 seconds on the ground, then the sound of the rotor fades, then silent. The team leader listens for 5 full minutes before moving. Nothing. They move single file into the jungle, 15 meters between each man. No talking. Hand signals only. The Montagnard fighters on point and rear security. The positions of most danger, taken without hesitation. 2 hours of movement. Then they stop. Night perimeter. Claymores out. 2-hour watch rotation. Nobody sleeps more than they have to. At 3 a.m., The team leader hears it. Movement to the north. He counts. 1 soldier. 5, 20, 50. He stops counting. The column keeps moving. For 2 hours, North Vietnamese Army soldiers pass within 30 meters of the team's position. 6 men lying completely flat in the jungle undergrowth, not moving, not breathing loud, not swatting the insects that crawl across their face. 1 cough, 1 snapped branch, 1 accidental radio squeal, and 6 men are dead. The column passes. The team leader gets on the radio, whispers his report. Large enemy column, estimated battalion strength or more, moving south on Route 110. The reply comes back, continue mission, we need more eyes. They stay. Day 2, another column, larger this time. The team leader watches NVA soldiers walk past for 3 hours. Infantry, then artillery being pushed by hand on wooden wheels, then bicycles loaded with ammunition, each bicycle carrying 300 pounds, pushed by a single soldier along a trail designed for exactly this purpose. The trail is not a trail. It is a functioning military logistics system with rest station, medical facility, anti-aircraft position, pre-positioned fuel and food, an entire invisible infrastructure built under jungle canopy that American satellites cannot fully penetrate. Day 3, truck convoy. At night, headlights move through the jungle, blacked out except for tiny slits that project just enough light to follow the road. Engines modified to run quieter. Drivers trained to navigate the trail by memory. The team leader does the mathematics. Based on what he is watching, the frequency of columns, the spacing of vehicles, the scale of the logistics flow, he estimates that 40,000 North Vietnamese soldiers move through this section of trail every single month. He reports it. The relay station acknowledges. Nobody believes him. Then, on the morning of day 4, it falls apart. It happens the way it always happens. Not with a dramatic confrontation, not with a firefight, with a small thing. A single NVA soldier, a scout working the edges of the trail looking for exactly what RT Idaho has been doing, steps off the main path to investigate an area that looks slightly wrong. A broken branch, a depression in the undergrowth that shouldn't be there. He stopped, raises his weapon. The team leader has half a second. He fires. The scout goes down, and every NVA soldier within 500 meters now knows exactly where they are. What happens in the next 72 hours is one of the most intense small unit survival actions of the entire Vietnam War. The team runs, not away from the trail. That direction is covered, not toward the emergency extraction point. The NVA trackers will anticipate that route. They run perpendicular into terrain so difficult that even the NVA tracking force cannot move through it quickly. Ridgelines, stream beds, double canopy so thick that air support cannot see them from above. The team leader calls in their position every 30 minutes. Encrypted, brief, the minimum information needed to keep the relay station tracking. Behind them, the sound of NVA soldiers moving through the jungle, not quickly, methodically. These are not ordinary soldiers. The trail security forces are experienced trackers who have been doing this for years. They know the jungle, they know the pattern, and they know that 6 men cannot run forever. On the first night, the team hides in a stream bed, water up to their waist, staying submerged to hide their body heat from NVA soldiers passing within meters above them on the bank. One of the Montagnard fighters is wounded, not badly, but badly enough to slow the team. The others take turns helping him move. Nobody leaves anyone behind. That is the rule, the only rule that cannot be broken. On the second day, the NVA closes the gap. The team is moving, but the trackers are moving fast, using the trail's own infrastructure, the rest station, the communications network, to coordinate a sweep that is slowly tightening around RT Idaho's position. The team leader makes a decision. He calls in an airstrike on his own position. He gives the coordinates of the ridge he is approaching, the one the NVA tracker force is using to cut him off. He requests the strike within 100 meters of his own team. The Air Force pilot on the other end of the radio reads back the coordinates. He confirms them twice. Then he rolls in. The strike hits the ridgeline ahead of the team exactly as the NVA tracker force is moving into position on it. The explosion tears through the jungle. The concussion wave hits the team hard enough to knock 2 men off their feet. But the NVA tracking force on that ridge is gone, and the gap that opens in the encirclement is enough. On the morning of the third day, battered, dehydrated, 1 man wounded, and 2 men having held the rear through 2 separate firefights. RT Idaho reaches the emergency extraction point. The helicopter comes in low and fast, door gunner firing as it flares for landing. The team climbs aboard in under 30 seconds. The helicopter lifts 4 men, not 6. 2 members of the team did not make it to the extraction. Their fate, consistent with the classified nature of SOG operation, were not officially documented for decades. That is what MACV-SOG caused. Not just the mission, not just the intelligence gathered, not just the NDA supply routes temporarily disrupted. It cost the men who went in. Over the course of the Vietnam War, MACV-SOG ran hundreds of missions, like this one, into Laos and Cambodia. The intelligence they gathered, the traffic counts, the route maps, the order of battle information, was some of the most valuable data American commanders received throughout the entire war. The Ho Chi Minh Trail carried somewhere between 40,000 and 60,000 tons of supplies per month at its peak. American bombing reduced that number, but it never stopped the flow, because for every bomb that hit the trail, 1,000 Vietnamese workers were ready to rebuild it. And for every SOG team that went into Laos, men like the operators of RT Idaho, men whose names remain classified in some cases even today, the trail kept moving. The intelligence they gathered proved something that American commanders found almost impossible to accept. The trail was not a vulnerability, it was a strength. An entire nation had decided to build a logistics system through some of the most hostile terrain on Earth, under constant bombing, with hand tools and human labor, and keep it running for the entire length of the war. 6 men watching from the jungle floor could count the column, could estimate the tonnage, could report the coordinates, but they could not stop what they were watching. Nobody could. 40,000 soldiers a month, moving south, in a country the United States officially wasn't fighting a war in. Next week on Lost Patrol, a sniper with a $30,000 bounty on his head crawls through 3 days of enemy-held jungle to reach a target his commander said was impossible. The NDA sent their own snipers to find him. This is the story of the White Feather. Subscribe to Lost Patrol so you don't miss it. If this video changed how you think about the Vietnam War, hit that like button. 2 seconds. It tells the algorithm this story deserves to be heard. This is Lost Patrol, the battles they never found. The men of MACV-SOG were volunteers, every one of them. Nobody was ordered into Laos. Nobody was assigned to RT Idaho against their will. These were soldiers who understood exactly what they were volunteering for, who read the casualty rates and signed the papers anyway, who accepted the classified nature of their service, the understanding that their families might never know exactly what they did or exactly where they died. They volunteered because they believed the intelligence was worth the risk, and in many cases, they were right. The traffic counts gathered by SOG teams like RT Idaho gave American planners a picture of the trail's capacity that no amount of aerial reconnaissance could provide. The order of battle intelligence identified NVA units before they crossed into South Vietnam. The route mapping allowed airstrikes to be targeted with greater precision. The intelligence was real. The sacrifice was real. What SOG proved, at enormous cost, was that small teams of highly trained soldiers could survive in denied territory against vastly superior numbers, gather intelligence of genuine strategic value, and return. Most of the time, the ones who didn't return, the ones whose fates were listed as missing in action, whose families waited for decades for answers that sometimes never came, they are part of this story too. RT Idaho lost 2 men in that jungle in 1968. Their names belong in this story, even if their names cannot yet be spoken. The Ho Chi Minh Trail was finally cut. Not by bombs, not by special operations teams, not by any military action, but by the Paris Peace Accords of 1973 and the eventual fall of Saigon in 1975. The trail that 6 men watched from a jungle bomb crater in 1968 outlasted every effort to destroy it. But the men who watched, the men who counted the columns and whispered their reports into radios in the darkness, they gave American commanders something invaluable: the truth, even when the truth was not what anyone wanted to hear. 40,000 soldiers a month, moving south, through a jungle that swallowed everything. 6 men, and a radio. The battles they never found.